Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to Synchronicity Web TV. I am your host and your astrologer, Nadiya Shah, and this is your moment of synchronicity. Thank you for being here. I am here today. Who's back? My aunt, Shireen Khan. Now, Shireen, of course, is a huge part of my spiritual journey. I feel like I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for her and all the spiritual mentorship that she gave me. Her website is ShireenKhanShine.com. And that's to help you to shine in your life and in your pathway. And also, she is a mind life coach. She is a Reiki master. She's not an astrologer. I'm going to be the one who's talking about the astrology, but Shireen's going to bring in her own more proactive, more insightful, more spiritual perspective as part of us discussing some things that you guys have been asking me about lately as well. So first of all, let me say, Shireen, I love you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I love you too. Thank you so much for having me
Well,
again.
you're, of course, anytime you want, you are you must be one of my most favorite people in the world. That's for sure.
I know that for sure.
I know. We talk all the time. I was saying to Shireen before we even started, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to, don't worry, we can edit because we can end up just laughing and saying all kinds of crazy things while I'm learning a lot, especially in terms of spiritual lessons as we go along. So we'll try to leave the spiritual lessons in, but the really giddy, crazy laughter, I'll spare you guys that and try to edit that out where possible because we do have a lot of fun learning as we go along. But yeah, there's a lot going on right now. A lot of people are feeling things. And I was talking to you about how I've been getting these emails lately. And even in recent videos that I've done with Cameron Allen that you guys have seen on my channel, Ursula Stockter that you've seen on my channel as well. So there's this example, an essay that I read when I was an undergrad in university, and it's by Sigmund Freud. It's called Mourning and Melancholia. And I will link to it below, or at least I'll link to the Wikipedia page below. So sometimes it's just called On Melancholia. Sometimes it's called On Mourning and Melancholia, or sometimes just Mourning and Melancholia. But in this essay, what Freud describes and talks about is depression. And it is Freud who believed that the energy of depression is essentially anger. And what it is that the psyche is not ready to look at the root of the true anger because the consequences would be too great. And so instead, that same energy of anger can turn in on itself and become depression. Now, according to Sigmund Freud, we're angry at our parents, right? He believed like everything just came down to our parents. But I have come to understand that there are so many different layers with which the psyche can be ready for certain things or not be ready, and ways in which that energy of anger can turn in on itself. It isn't just about that very core, very basic anger at the parents, because according to Freud, our parents are our first examples of God. So to actually question and say that we're angry at our parents is the same as turning on God. The consequences would be too great. But there are other ways in which consequences can be too great as well. Whenever it is that an important life change needs to happen, sometimes before we get there, we may have to go through that depression. Now, to me, as an astrologer, I'm hearing Neptune, I'm hearing Mars. So I think about Neptune having to do with that melancholia and that need to connect with something that feels more spiritually validating. But I also hear Mars as well, because Mars is about directing your life force, your life energy. That energy turned in on itself can become anger, including anger at the self. But when that energy is directed in powerful ways, boy, are you a force that is unstoppable. And so, Shireen, I wanted to bring you in on this because I remember you teaching me, because I know you studied Chinese medicine extensively for many years. And you would affirm to me, you would talk to me about how, according to Chinese philosophy, anger is deeply spiritual. It's a very powerful energy. There are moments when the best you can do, really, there are times when the best you can do is just wake up that day, shower that day, right? There are times in life that can
Yeah.
feel so heavy, that can feel so overpowering, that you just kind of have to accept whatever your wins are and not judge them. And your win may be, I showered today, and that can be a really big deal. But I think it sounds really big when it's like, okay, I'm sad, but today I'm going to wake up and I'm going to just change everything. Like, what, how can we understand that more fully, what it is that you're describing?
So, what you're saying that just taking a shower is a big deal because I know people who've been through this kind of depression. So just do that. Like
Yeah.
for me, it would be like, oh, I haven't worked out in 5 days, so I'm gonna get up and just work out. But somehow I got a few phone calls. I didn't get a chance to work out. I would feel bad that I didn't make time for myself. So for me, that would be that. But a lot of things like taking a shower, even to just smile or pick up the phone and call a friend, it's very difficult for some people. So you just have to accept it, slowly change, ride the wave, talk to people around you. Just really be gentle to yourself and have passion and know that you are depressed. You are like some people are depressed, they don't want to take the medication. So there's like start with slowly like waking up, doing breathing exercises. It's a lot. Like for us, it's easy to say, but people who are going through it, it's it's very difficult
Yeah.
to,
And I
know.
also want to acknowledge that there are legitimate cases of imbalances of chemicals in people's brains. And so, if you are, whether it's a time or a place or a person who needs medication, of course, we are all for whatever it is that's going to help you to feel good and feel balanced, whatever works for you. If it helps you to move in a direction of being in any way empowered, I think it's a good thing. And so, but how do people go from that place, like you were saying earlier, of, um, you can be on the couch and you can be there, or you can take that energy and you can turn it around. Like, explain that a little bit. How do you take that energy and turn it around? What do
So
you
it all
think?
everything starts from the inside. So
Mm,
let's say you wake up and you want to take a shower and you can't. So you're going to make a little bit of maybe wash your face that day, not take a shower. So let's say we're sad. So what are we sad about? So whatever makes us sad, we gotta rewire and say, okay, I'm going to feel joy instead of sad. Now, for me to say it's really easy, but for someone who's in it, they 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 don't have a reason to feel joyful. Like, what is joy? So start counting. Like, okay, I'm alive. So every time you're sad, you're just gonna say, I'm alive. I'm alive. So it takes a while to rewire yourself. It's all about rewiring. It's a lot to do with how you're thinking and to change it, like slowly. So I have clients who say that I was I feel I don't feel I feel depressed. So I would just say, okay, when you feel depressed, what's the opposite of depressed? So they'll say, okay, maybe courage, maybe joy, maybe happy. So I was like, okay, how does happy feel? So then they think of one time that they were really happy. And as soon as they feel depressed, they can think of that one thought that made them and just keep on switching to that thought. It may take a week, it may take 1 hour, it may take a month, but start to rewire. When one thought is switched to the happiness, then you start to see how you transform. Everything around you start to feel happier. You're going to people who are really liking you and you feeling their positive energy because you're changing. You'll see that there'll be support everywhere for you. I know when you're sad and down, you feel you have no support, but there is so much support. You just have to support yourself. So, whatever you want from others, you first have to give it to yourself. Once you give it to yourself, you'll see it'll come from everywhere. The world will just open up. That's my personal experience. And this is my clients' experiences as well.
I would
Yeah. So,
also add, I remember Eckhart Tolle saying, give whatever it is that you believe the universe is keeping from you. Give whatever you believe the universe is keeping from you. And that's been something that's been really helpful to me as well, like personally. So I'm thinking about, yes, you want to, if you want other people to be kind towards you, be kind towards yourself. That's very powerful. But also be kind to other people.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
give that as well, right? Yeah, I remember once a friend being so depressed, and he was talking, and this was years ago. He was talking about how he walked around downtown Toronto, and he was walking around for 30 minutes and nobody looked at him. and how depressed he was by that. And I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, but did you look at people? Did you smile at
Yeah.
people? What did, like, did you acknowledge other people? Like, because a lot of us, like, whatever you're feeling, I guarantee you there are so many other people who are feeling that as well. So give whatever it is that you think is going to be the medicine for that which you feel you want, that healing. Whatever healing you want, give that medicine to other people.
Yes.
That can be very powerful. But I love how you talked about rewiring, because this is something I've definitely seen, that a lot of times people think it's change and change is going to happen and it's going to show up for me. But many times, and some of the most rewarding changes are those that we earn, and we earn it over a period of time. And we earn it by being very diligent with ourselves, including how we're speaking to ourselves. That is such a huge part of how
Yes.
meaningful change does take place. And so, what I heard when you were talking about rewiring, like, because I know you love to use that word and you talk about it a lot, but essentially what it is changing the messages that you say, and being mindful of when you need that new messaging to come in again and again. So, for example, if somebody walks around and they, every time they think about themselves, they go, "Oh, I'm so ugly." Let's say they say that, "I'm so ugly." Well, you have to change that into, "I'm beautiful," or "I am my own unique expression of beauty," or whatever it is that helps you to feel good about your physical embodiment in this lifetime, whatever that may be. My beauty comes from source. My beauty comes from spirit. I enjoy my physical incarnation, whatever that may be for you. It is about being very diligent to replace those thoughts. I don't think it's necessarily about saying, "Oh, I don't look good in this way, so I'm going to, go through all of this to change it." You can still do that. You can go through all of whatever to change whatever you want about yourself. But I think a lot of it is rooted in perception. And perception is about how we are wiring ourselves and what neural pathways we're affirming again and again, and where we can be diligent to change it. Now, the astrological correlation, let me just let you guys know, I'm thinking about Saturn when I'm thinking about the diligence and pursuing the path and being very mindful. Like, all of these involve mercurial energies of mind, but they also involve the commitment of Saturn, because some of those messages are so deeply ingrained.
Yeah, yes, yes. And you know what? I think the whole thing is to stop identifying yourself with what you've been thinking about yourself. So you have
Yeah.
to take away that identity and give yourself a new identity. So much freedom in it.
Yeah.
So you can set yourself free. But if you're saying, "Oh, I'm ugly," you take that away. That's not your identity. That's your perception that somebody put inside of you when you were a kid, or
Yeah.
maybe one experience that you remember that will change your whole life. Now you have to go inside and change your life and say, "Okay, you know what? Yeah, that's fine if I was ugly. So what? But now I have the power to tell myself that I'm not." And
Yeah.
find I start to identify, find one thing in you that you like. So for me, I would just look at my eyes and I would just say, "Oh, this is the best feature of me that makes me feel beautiful." And then when you start looking at you and you start to like that, focus, then you say, "Oh, you know what? I really love my hair too. You know what? I love my chin." Like little things like that. "I love my smile. I love my neck." Like things like that. Just keep on identifying yourself to a new person. It's so beautiful, so powerful. There's so much courage to do that. And if you're a brave person, you can do it easily. That's so easy. Just go inside and change everything. It takes time, but you can do it. It really does take time, and meanwhile, you're going to be going backwards because your memory is going to pull you back to saying you're ugly, but you're going to say, "No, that's my old memory." And the memory likes that, about because it enjoys that part of me. I enjoy that part, looking ugly, because I there's something inside of me feels like a victim, so maybe I can get something from somebody.
No, no, it's like comforting or something. Or,
Yeah.
it goes back to this idea we started off by talking about Freud. If we got those messages from our parents, for example, right? For whatever reason, we might have gotten those messages from our parents. To then challenge that is to make our parents wrong. And we may not even be conscious of that. But part of the reason why it becomes addictive, it becomes familiar, it becomes alluring to see ourselves in those old ways, is because it validates something about what our primary first caregivers might have said to us about ourselves. So we, on some very deep level, might associate that with care, with love, with the familiar, even if it isn't good for us anymore.
Yeah, it's like some foods too, right? Like I keep on going back to having noodles. I know that that's a comfort food for me, but after it gives me heartburn. But I still love it because it's like it comforts me at that time. So it's just like everything is like that in life. You keep on going back to what you know. Um, Even if it hurts you, you'll get it. You want it.
Yeah,
We're addicted to our own emotions. So any addiction to come out of it is not going to be easy.
yeah,
Rewiring is not easy. Change is not easy, but you have to ride the wave when you're changing. Sometimes you just have to sit in it. You know you're changing. It's hurting. You want to go back. But just sit and let it change. Let it happen. This is the time we were
yeah.
talking about. This is the time to surrender. When you ride the wave, that's the time to surrender.
Yeah. And we were speaking earlier, I was talking to you about how sometimes people email me, and I get emails like this quite a bit where they say they've been watching me for so many years and they've seen me go through a transformation. And I think to myself a few things. First of all, I know my chart. For those of you who know a little bit about astrology, I have a Cancer rising, I have a Sag moon. My weight fluctuates, my appearance fluctuates, it goes through changes, and that's fine. That's great. I've learned to find acceptance with that, to just like go with the flow with whatever needs to change externally with my appearance or inwardly as well. But also, I think to myself, like, if you are just willing to be aware, be conscious, if you're at least willing to look at your own messaging and do, and no one's saying you have to be perfect at it. You don't have to be perfect at it, but to do a little bit of the work that awareness might require so that you're willing to talk to yourself a different way from time to time, the way in which it can change you from the inside and the outside is remarkable. And I think the thing that changes most, and I think why people send me messages like this, is really because it's just really being at peace with yourself. When you talk to yourself in a kinder way, you just have an energy that is more calm, that is more at peace, that is more accepting. And that is a place of power in and of itself.
Yeah, all you need is one one change to prove yourself that you can change. All you
Yeah.
need is one experience. Once you have that made one change, you can go back to the same way how you made that one change, and you can change your whole life. You can
Yeah.
transform yourself from that one change. But you gotta make the effort to make that one change.
And but also you have to be ready. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about something personal, and I may end up cutting this out, but this is the kind of stuff that Shireen and I talk about. So now I'm going to share this. But like 6 months ago, I broke up with somebody. So I was in a relationship for 7 years, ended 6 months ago. But it took a couple of years to even be ready for that. Like the last couple of years were really not good. Were really hard. And I remember going through a rough spot with him and then getting better, but then, it just ended up not working out. And it wasn't like I could just wake up and say, oh, I'm going to think differently and now I'm going to change and now I'm going to leave. There's like this period of time that we have to acknowledge where sometimes the psyche isn't ready because the consequences do feel too big. So for me, the thought of leaving a dog that I loved, a city I loved, a life I loved, there were all these different factors. Someone who loved me, someone that was familiar, a pace that I'd gotten used to with moving through
It's a
life.
life. You had a life. You had a life.
Yeah.
To live a
Yeah.
life. It's very difficult to have a life compacted in a nice ribbon. It's all right there. Everybody can see, everybody thinks that, wow, this is great. But you are the one who's suffering. You are the one inside don't want it, don't want what's going on. So it's a whole bunch of memories and years of life that you have. Now to change that life, it takes courage, it takes time. You can't just
Mhm.
wake up one day and just say, hey, you know what? I really don't like my life. I'm going to move out. It's not a portal you can just take off. You got people to you care and people
Yeah.
care for you. So most of the time we don't leave people because we assume that we're going to hurt them. more than hurt us, because we feel powerful that we can make a change. But what about them?
Sometimes, yeah, yeah.
Sometimes we really think about other people, and that sort of stagnate our growth because of other people, which is right. But again, when you're ready, you left. You were thinking about it. It happens all the time. Like even with jobs, people are afraid
Yeah,
to,
right?
like everything,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. That's so true. Like any type of important change that you may make in life, when you enter a new phase, or when you're, that transition between one phase of life to another, your transition might be like, for me, the last 2 or 3 years of that relationship really weren't working. And that transition period was those 2 to 3 years. It wasn't easy. But your transition phase might be shorter, might even be longer, depending on how long you've been in a particular job or person, place, thing, situation. But there does come a point, I think, like you do like sort of prepare the ground little by little. And there does come a point when something switches, when you just can't continue the way that you were anymore. And
Yeah.
then I think you have the energy to do the work. That's when you start to get into
Yes.
yeah, because then it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you see the consequences of thinking a certain way again and again, and you go, wait a minute, now I've got to change. I'm ready to change. And then the real work begins with changing your own perceptions of yourself and so much more.
You started with an intention, that this is the intention is like we don't realize it, but when we're not happy, we in the back of our head we make an intention that we're gonna move, we're gonna leave this.
Mhm.
That's like intention we made. We don't know. It's taken off. And now how it's going to take place, it can take 1 year, it can take 6 months, it can take like a minute, like
Yeah,
overnight. So it's
yeah,
how strong your intention is. And then you just, after intention, the life goes on slowly. It moves, it changes, it transforms, and that's it. Then you become a different person. You go towards you. To become you, it's very courageous. Like it's very difficult to see who you're gonna become. A lot of my clients, they are so afraid of their own powers. They don't know if they're gonna unleash it. They feel like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to leave my husband. My family's not gonna look at me like that, or my kids are gonna be mad at me because I'm not gonna be the same mom. So
mm,
people around us try to put us in that role. Sometimes they don't, but we assume that they want us to stay in that role. And some people, when they change, the other people do feel like, what happened to you? Like, why are you acting weird? Even though, and you just grew up inside and you're a different person, you became wiser, but people around you saying like, what happened to you? Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay for the first time in my life.
yeah, yeah.
So it takes
Because
a lot of courage.
yeah, it can take courage to change, but then sometimes it's like staying in a bad situation for a moment longer, it just costs too much. It just asks too
Cost your
much.
life. Sometimes it costs lives.
Yeah. And then I would also like to think that ultimately, when we do find that courage to make a change in any way, in any area of life, again, it could be moving out of depression, moving out of negative or heavy or difficult emotion, difficult mental states, but maybe like in your life as well, like with relationships or with jobs, as we were talking about. I would like to think that there is this sort of as they call it, the butterfly effect. There is this sense of when you do that, when you take those steps, when you make that change, that in the bigger picture, other people are going to be better off as well.
You know what? We all here to do our journey, to make it complete, to go to wherever we're going. And sometimes our spirit kick us, and we're just like we don't realize change happens overnight. Other people are maybe hurt, but they will accept it in time, because you need to accept the change too. When your spirit needs to do something on earth, it will make sure that you are doing it. Like if you're here, you already made your contract what to do on earth, why you're here. So then you're just pushed to do it. You're just pushed to do it sometimes. It's better to have a plan. So it's you're not like gone in it like a Bambi. You just have a plan and you follow your plan. that's what my advice is, to always have a plan. Plan A, plan B, plan C, how many ever plans you want, you can create. But make the change. Make that change that your spirit is telling you to make. And listen to
What
your
if
heart.
what if you don't know what that is? How about that? Like, what if there are people who would say, like, I don't know what my spirit's trying to tell me? What would you say to that?
Okay, you gotta listen. Okay, even to say that my spirit is telling me something, the restlessness is already started. You know,
Mhm.
the wave has already started to rise. So that means like they need to find out. So now you can go to somebody like me, like go to a life coach, and then we can discuss like what are you feeling. It's a process. Everything is a process. But first, you need to want to change. You want to have that change. You want to know what's going on with you. Even if you can't figure it out, it's okay. There are people that you can talk to and they can help you. A simple thing is meditation. Now, meditation, a lot of my clients, they say, I cannot sit for 2 minutes. Like,
Mhm.
I can't close my eyes for 2 minutes. My brain works too much, like too fast. So if you can't do it, like you can start with breathing. With, you gotta go inside. You gotta make that effort. If you want to change, you gotta make that effort. 5 minutes of sitting quietly will change your life. It will change your life.
And there's something, just the effort itself, what it helps you to know about you is so powerful. Like that changes your energy. Not
Yeah,
so much like whatever outcome you think you're going to get from the effort, but the path of the effort itself can shift your energy in such powerful ways because it gives you you. It helps you to realize like, yeah, I am a courageous person. I am this type of person or whatever. Like again, leaving my relationship, it was kind of like, what at your age, blah blah blah. Like if you can believe it, there's that messaging, right? But then it's like, well, yeah, I am the kind of person who can be like, you know what? I am going to trust this voice within me. Or, you know what? I think I'm going to move towards something that feels more loving, more wise, more honoring, something that is in a different energy field as I'm ready to go into a different energy field. The willingness to even walk that path to make that shift, I think is a very powerful thing. That in and of itself, like I didn't even realize how much resilience I had. And that might sound odd to some people. It might sound odd to you because I know you always saw these amazing qualities in me and you're always affirming these qualities in me. But I didn't even realize how independent I could actually be. And
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
yeah. And I'm like the most independent person that a lot of people even know. I'm like fiercely independent. And yet I didn't even come to appreciate that, wow, yeah, there are moments when I can take care of myself or I know I'm going to be okay and I can walk it alone and I can trust something within me to be there for me. I can be there for myself.
You
And
know what it is? Like,
what?
sorry to interrupt you.
No, no.
It's the you took 2 years to change because you were not sure of the unknown. And the unknown is the best place to be. A lot of my clients, they don't make a change because they're afraid of the unknown. What's going to happen if I did that? What's going to happen? What's going to happen if you didn't do it? You're going to still be sitting where you are. So,
Yeah.
you took charge. The unknown is the best place because you can draw your life on it. You can make it. It's like an open canvas. You can just throw any paint on the unknown. Unknown is nothing to be worried or scared of. So you took the leap into the unknown and you realize how independent, how beautiful it is to be in the unknown. Where
Yeah.
are you going to create your shine? You're going to create it in the dark. Because if you shine and shine, you're not going to be found in another light.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
create your own light. And where is it going to be? How are you going to see it? You're going to go into the darkness where there's
Yeah.
unknown.
Where you don't know, when you don't know what's in there, that's when you really see what's in you. And that
Yes,
can be
because
really powerful, as I have been discovering. Very powerful.
yeah, that's when you know that you're limitless, you're boundless. That's why I say that all you need is one change, like one experience. And then when you taste the taste of the unknown, how beautiful it is, how life could expand, how expensive life is, then you can just completely make your life all new. You change your life. Like look at you. You you really change your life. Within like in 6 months, you're a different person.
Yeah, it feels that
Yeah.
way. It does feel like I look back and I go, wow, s- such, I was in such a different place inside of myself a year ago. Like I just think about a year ago and I do feel like I am different now. And in a way that I feel is better because it's me. It's like I have something of myself, whether you want to say again or in a new way. But yeah, something is better.
Yeah, like it's like wearing the same clothes all your life, and you're just like, I'm so tired of this. I'm gonna take this
Yeah.
off. It hurts, but I'm gonna take it off. And when you take it off, you realize, oh my God, I had new pairs, like a pair of jeans that I can put on. You forget about
Yeah.
those things. So
Yeah.
yeah, so you made the change. You made a big change, and you're living your life
Yeah,
independent.
that's very exciting. Yeah. So, another thing I did want to ask you about before I let you go, because I know that I get emails like this from time to time. I remember the last time we did a live with the superstar in the superstar group, and somebody was saying this as well. But we always get these emails, and now that I'm out, I'm a single girl in Mexico City, so I know a little bit about this as well. But you remember somebody had said, I met a guy and I thought we really connected and we were doing so well. And then he stopped contacting me, he stopped calling or whatever. And so, what did you respond? Do you remember?
I I don't remember right now, but I think that when two people are, do you remember?
I do remember. You said, so what?
Sometimes I'm channeling and I'm
I
only
know, right?
channeling for that person at that time.
I know, but you know what else? Like, I have found so many times people will say to me, like, "Oh, what do you remember what you said in that video? And do you remember? I remember you said this. Do you remember what video it was when you said that?" And I'm like, "No, because when the video is really good, or when I'm feeling like it's very rewarding an experience creating a video, normally it's like I get out of the way and I just let something come forward.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I just like, and I know that we have had this conversation before as well. Again, as a single girl in Mexico City, it's kind of like you meet people or whatever, and you almost have to be in that space where it's like, you know what? Whatever anybody else does or decides, it's not going to affect my self love, my self esteem, my self worth. Whatever somebody else uh, feels or believes about me doesn't have to be what I believe about me.
Yeah. Actually, it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, I know, right? That's why I think you said, so what? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, so what?
Yeah.
Whatever they think is so what? Like it has nothing to do. What other people think about you is none of your business.
Mhm. Yeah.
It-
I think
it's
it's important to be aware enough to know when you are coming from a place of peace and kindness and self-love in particular, right? That those are very important places of self-honesty that can help you a lot. But yeah, at the same time, people will make all kinds of choices and decisions and have all kinds of perceptions that really have nothing to do with you. Even if you try to make it about you, it's not about you.
It's not, because even sometimes you meet someone and you feel like, well, what a great connection, and you can spend your half of your life with that person, but you know that that person saw what they saw in you is they always wanted that. So for me, like if I'm with the man, they see in me that okay, she's nurturing, she's wise, she's giving, she cooks great, she cares about what I think, like
I don't cook at
that
all, but
thing.
okay, yeah.
So things like that, right?
No one's
So
gonna say that about me. I will give you a bag of potato chips. I will be like, let's get some yogurt out of the fridge.
only if you're lucky you can have that yogurt.
I know. I know, right? Get your own yogurt. Call Uber Eats. Get Uber Eats to deliver your yogurt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So going back to like what other person finds attractive in me is what they really want in their life.
Mhm.
That's what they're missing. For me, like whatever I feel connection with, that's what I want from that guy. Now my psyche tells me how I relate love with certain things, so I'm going to be attracted to that guy who's going to give me like fix my garden, fix my whatever, right? I'm going to be looking for that.
I love it. I love it. That's what you're looking for. Someone to repair your sink. To
Find
do
me the right, like,
free
find me the
maintenance.
right tools so I can make like whatever I want. So whatever we're not good at basically, and what we're looking for, we are attracted to that person. So if the match is perfect, we feel like we got the connection. We got it because I am who they want, and that one person is who I want.
But then that can work for a time, right? Sometimes, they say reason, season, or a lifetime. But what does somebody do when, maybe they really liked somebody? Maybe they were dating somebody for like 2 months and they really felt like it was a connection. They really felt like it was going to go somewhere, whatever. And then it didn't, right? For whatever reason. Maybe that other person decides that, they're not in it anymore.
And that's
Or
just
it could be you that realizes, like, you know what?
yes.
So what then?
It's just life. Sometimes life is just life. That you
Life
trying
on
to
life's
aim,
terms.
yeah, like you're trying to aim high. When you start, you just feel like okay, you got a hit, you got 2 hits, you got 3 hits, but you didn't get 10 hits. So your aim is 10 hits. So you're not gonna move forward because it didn't. You didn't. So that's fine. You still learn something from it. You
Yeah.
figured out that it's achievable. It's possible because I got 5 hits this time, or I'm only 5 hits short. So 50%, I achieved what I wanted. So you just keep on going because that's just life.
Yeah,
And,
and I've heard it
right?
said, what you want exists. What you want exists. You don't have to settle. And maybe like sometimes these people come along, like you said, like you're going for 10 hits. 10 hits is the person who has, what you want, all the things that you want. And you might get 4, you might get 5 hits, but then you have to look at where the hits are not happening and is it too
Yes.
much of a settle? Because
Yeah.
there may
Yes.
be, yeah, some parts of relationship are compromised, but then there are times when you compromise too much. Or what I mean by too much is you compromise things that should not be compromised.
Yeah, you
Like,
got to figure out your priorities, like
yeah,
which hit is the better priority. You may
yeah,
not always have 10 hits, but if you got the most important ones that you figured out that you want definitely, and you got those, and maybe he doesn't put his shoes away where you want
then
them.
that's
If
not,
that's
yeah,
it, yeah,
that's
yeah.
not as big a
Yeah.
deal as somebody who, speaks to you disrespectfully, or somebody who's, who might get into moods and not be very nice to you, or might, these are things that you are not to be compromised.
Well,
There's some
nobody
things that
should.
you do not compromise.
Well, no, nobody has the right to make you feel that you're walking on eggshells. Once you get that
Yeah.
feeling, you got to do something about it. That's a huge
That is,
control over you.
I know. And I will share something very deeply personal with people out there, but that's it. That's the big lesson for me, and has been the big lesson for me, has been that if I have to walk on eggshells to be with you, then that's not that's not freedom. That's
Well,
not
then you're
me.
not being with you. That's then when you're
Yeah.
not being with you. To be with somebody else, then you're not with yourself.
Yeah.
Number
Anyone
one
who
is
makes
you.
you walk on eggshells is not allowing you to be you and not allowing you to be with you. That's
Well,
very powerful.
they killed your spirit.
Oh, well, not killed, but suppress.
Yeah, well, yeah. Let's just say use a better word, but because I'm very passionate about these
I
things, so
know. I love it.
yeah,
I
so
love your
I just
passion.
feel like nobody can ever try.
Ever.
You ever
Oh,
try to?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you're suppressing me, you're killing me, and I'm not gonna
Oh my
let that
God.
happen.
Okay, can you guys tell right now, me with my Sag moon Aquarius sun, Shireen with her Aquarius rising Sag sun, okay? Both of us are like, you gotta be free. Freedom is everything. Yeah, I
Yeah,
gotta
yeah,
be
yeah.
me. Yeah, yeah,
Live free,
yeah,
or you gotta live free, and you gotta live
yeah.
for yourself. When you do that, you give the same thing to people around you. You give them freedom to live their life, and you give them the joy of being around you.
Yeah. Yeah. Walking on eggshells is not being authentic. It's not honoring your spirit. It's not being you. That's been a huge lesson for me, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a tough one. Why is it tough? Maybe it's not a tough lesson. Maybe the lesson was always simple, but embracing it, knowing I was worthy of it, maybe that was the where the work was.
Well, your spirit wants to always grow. So some stuff like
Mhm.
that may happen in your life where you just realize, oh my God, I didn't realize, but I've been walking on eggshells. And that's when your spirit says, well, it's time to do something different. I
Mhm.
want to fly a little bit higher. Let's go for a ride. Dig deep.
Yeah.
Drink,
Wow. Yeah. Dig deep, fly higher, let's go for a ride. That
yeah.
is so beautiful. Yes. Sometimes your spirit is going to say that. And sometimes it's just undeniable. You got to listen. Like the consequences of not listening, it just won't work anymore. Not listening is not an option anymore.
No, no, you got to listen to your spirit. Those whispers, they start with tiny whispers. And the more you ignore, the louder they get.
Yeah, I know, right? Until it's like, God, oh, yeah, yeah. Until it's all that you're going to hear and see everywhere you turn, everywhere you look.
Oh,
Yeah.
you lose it, it just your spirit becomes so restless, so like wanting something new. It's craving for new life. It's craving for uh, to meet that source. Like every spirit has to have the source that created it. If you're not with that source that created the spirit, then it doesn't find meaning in life. You can go into depression, you can become sad. That's what I mean, that these things, they come in us so we can transform, we can change, we can take action instead of depression. With our anger is very positive thing. Is positive things because it pushes us to take action. So being angry is nothing wrong with that. It's an emotion. It's the way we look at it. It's what we do with it.
Mm, mm.
Just like when you're driving a car, you see the gauge. It's like our life is a gauge of, like, so it's got if the if it goes really hot, you see the meter is going hot towards, like, your fuel is empty, the meter is going towards red. It's just like your anger. So what do? You slow down your car, you cool it, you put in more fuel in it, and then you prepare to drive again. The same
Mm.
thing with that. When you feel you're getting angry, you can't focus. That means your meter is way high. You gotta come down, cool, fuel yourself, give yourself what you need, and then start a plan. Like, what's going on, take an action.
Yeah. And that's when you're using your anger as part of a spiritual journey. It's the intention and the action from a place of self-knowledge that can be very powerful. Even if what you know about yourself is constantly changing, it's very powerful to at least be willing to connect with that part of you and to take some action, no matter how small, but some action
Some action.
forward can be
You
very
gotta prove
powerful.
yourself. That's when you take action, you prove yourself that you're right. And that's important,
Yeah.
to make big changes, to tell yourself, make that one change.
I love you.
I love you so much. And
I
another
love
thing,
you so
oh my God, another thing I want to say is, like,
yeah.
keep your identity check, because some of the stuff you take on, that's not your ID. That's you should need. So the best thing is to keep on changing your identity and keep on looking at it. The more you see
Or
who
like
you
what you
are,
mean by changing your identity, you mean choosing an identity that
well,
aligns with your values and the
yes,
best in you. Yeah, that's what you
yes,
mean by changing your
yes,
identity.
yeah,
And as you learn more about yourself, continuing to raise those qualities higher and higher. And
yeah. Like,
so, yeah.
some people, they may they may get a headache, and they will identify themselves with the headache or with
Mm.
the disease, because they start to find comfort in it. I don't know, whatever they get from it. Maybe people focus more, or the husband can say, okay, you got a headache, I'll take care of the kids, you go lie down. Maybe that's the reward, whatever it is. So make sure that your identity is you, not how you're living your life with
Yeah,
whatever.
or some symptom or whatever, like your
Yes,
identity
yeah.
is as someone who is what, at peace? What would be
Yes.
an identity? What do you think is an identity? What are some words that describe identity?
Okay, so you're free. You have chosen a lifestyle. That what is your lifestyle is freedom. It's freedom of speech, freedom of expressing yourself, speaking
Yeah.
your truth, not holding back for the right time. The more you hold back, well, I'm not going to say it right now. I'm going to hold it at the right time. The more you hold it back, the bigger it becomes. It becomes a monster. So that
Mm.
it's hard to let go. So keep yourself clear of all these things. Be
Mhm.
aware. When you feel a little restless, come out of yourself and observe yourself. Like, who are you looking at? What that person is doing? Then you'll be able to make really positive changes once you see yourself in two ways, like as a subject and object.
That's very powerful. And so as you observe yourself, you're able to then say, okay, what truth about myself, what is true about myself? And how can I feel that right now? How can I align with that right now? And
Yeah, and what are you
oftentimes,
denying? What
what
are
are
you
you
denying to
denying?
yourself? What are you
Wow.
denying?
Mm,
Or even what are you sacrificing for the other person? What are you
that's a big
denying?
one. Yeah, that's a big one. When we sacrifice, what is worth the sacrifice and what isn't worth the sacrifice? That's the
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah. You
When
can
some things
compromise.
aren't.
You can
Yeah.
compromise sometime, but once you start to like sacrifice too much for other people, then that's not a compromise. That's not listening to your spirit. That's not listening to why you're here on earth.
Yeah. And the right person, place, thing, situation will affirm what it is that you're here to do instead of distract or drain you away from what it is that you're here to do. And so, how do you know what you're here to do? Because it gives you life, it gives you juice, it gives you energy. That's what I think. What do you think? How do you know it when you
You
find that thing?
It's like knowing without knowing. You just know it. You
Mm,
just know it. When you hit that spot, the sweet spot, you just know it, that this is your calling. Because a lot of people keep on trying, oh, maybe this is my calling. Maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll do that. And they just keep on doing it. And that's fine. Like keep on experiment. Keep your life as an experiment. But then there comes a time where you just say, this is it. This is my calling. And when
mm.
you find that, then everything starts to come towards you. You start to look more beautiful. Your body looks great. Everybody's attracted to you. Whatever you want
And
is
that isn't about, let me just say, that isn't about size, that isn't about anything. It's
no
the energy, the way that energy
energy.
runs through your body that changes like how you move through the world. That is what brings that sense of people being attracted to you in all kinds of ways. We're not just talking about
Vibration.
sexually,
No,
vibrationally. Exactly. That's what we're talking about.
we're
Yeah.
all vibration beings, and however we vibrate, we gotta be mindful and choose to vibrate on a higher frequency. So the higher our frequency, and that is so possible because we just keep on raising our energy. Raise. How do we raise it? The only answer is through going inside. There's nothing outside of us. Everything exists inside of us. We gotta go inside. We gotta make that effort to that meditate. Or people think meditation is like home, and no, you can just sit for a minute and just take a few breaths. You can
Yeah.
just tell yourself, this is how I started. I start meditating just saying that I don't have to think anything. And the moment
Mm,
you say I don't have to think anything, you'll see your brain stops.
mm.
It listens to you. That's how I start. So again, like the thoughts start to appear again. Then I just say again, I don't have to think anything. And then it's a practice. And you'll see sometimes you'll sit for 10 minutes and you don't have to say, I don't have to think anything, because you already trained your brain that once you're going to sit like this, it's going to tell itself that I don't have to think anything.
And it's amazing how that creates space for all kinds of things, for wisdom, for love, for truth, for insight, for purpose. Like just doing that, to me, I like to focus on breath. Focus on your
Yes.
breath for 90 seconds, and everything looks different afterwards. It can be very powerful. Yeah.
It brings you life. Breath
Yeah.
is life. If life is
Yeah.
going to change, it changes. This breathing changes.
It's very powerful. I love you, Shireen. Thank you for being a powerful force in my life, for being a part of this purpose that I am on, this journey that I am on. I love you. I love you so much. You know that.
I love you. Oh my God, I love you back. And thanks so much for having me. I always enjoy speaking with you off camera, on camera,
I
at
know,
night,
right?
morning.
Well, we're about to go talk off camera now for a little while too. But
Okay.
I love you all as well. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can find my aunt Shireen at ShireenKhanShine.com, and I will link to it below. And until we connect again, take care. Bye.